Hi all. In the news recently we've got the Kasparov versus Nigel Short Blitz match. I thought we could have a look at a few of those games, well maybe all of them. I'm hoping there's not going to be an audio synchronization issue. I'm going to try and just put them all in this one video, all eggs in one basket, and hopefully there isn't a problem with that, because it's all one unit, one match. So let's have a look at game one. Kasparov playing white. And it's fantastic to have Kasparov back. He is one of my favourite players of all time. You know, dynamic, aggressive, in the footsteps of Alexander Alekhine. A bit style, or a little bit different to Anatoly Karpov, who was more into positional play, you know, removing counterplay, playing on pawn structure. Kasparov was the dynamic one, and even risked playing the Taras defence against Karpov. Losing almost on the brink of getting completely crushed in their first match. You know, thankfully he changed to the Grunfeld, but you know, he's a different style to Karpov, still from the Botvinnik school of chess, where Botvinnik was literally like the head kind of teacher, going over their strengths and weaknesses, and you know, pushing their style to the limits. Whether it was Karpov, Shirov, Kasparov, or Kramnik, they're all in the Botvinnik school of chess. But Kasparov-Short encounters have always been very, very interesting games. Kasparov is not content with quiet draws or anything. He's always out for blood against Nigel Short, so it's very interesting that they have this match. So d4 from Kasparov, e6, inviting a French defence now, Nigel Short. That's ignored. Instead we've got a sort of Catalan position now, Bogo-Indian. Bogo after Bogolojubov. So we're kind of Bogo territory. Queen b3 looks like an old Alekhine Bogo match with Queen b3 instead of Queen c2 here at the moment. Queen e7, okay, protecting the bishop. Bishop f4, eyeing the c7 pawn. d5 actually protects the c7 pawn here. e3, okay, so bishop fianchettos. Now Kasparov goes for the bishop pair. Castles, bishop e2, but now black tries to open up the bishop, the scope of the bishop. D takes c4, and tries to gain some more tempo on the queen, as well as liberate the position a bit more with c5. But after castles, also there's another idea, bishop a6, because the knight's been kept there deliberately to skewer queen and bishop, get rid of the light square bishop, and now play for c5. Still, it looks a little bit tricky for black to fully equalise. Especially after this next move, it looks as though white has a bind a bit on the position. So how did Nigel wriggle out? So h6, h3. This bishop's kind of nasty on this diagonal. The rook's kind of tied down to a7. And also, of course, cd is prevented at the moment. So there's pressure on the black position. So how did Nigel parry this? Well, the queen to the back row now means c takes d4 is possible. So c8 adequately protected. Now knight c5, kicking the queen away. Now queen a4. So maybe this is where Nigel started to get back into this game. He looks to be roughly equal here. Still, the doubling of rooks is sometimes quite dangerous for black. a5. And now a4, really clamping down on white playing b4. Now if white wanted to play b4 there, he could have, maybe. Unless there's an issue with it, maybe it wasn't that tempting, because black could always take and then play knight a4. Maybe it's not that brilliant here. So a4 was allowed, e4, and now using the b5 square, knight b5, because the queen was just being blocked, the weakness of the last move. So just pouncing on that, because now there's a threat actually of knight d6, quite nasty to win the exchange. That has to be parried. But also the bishop's protecting d6 as well, so this looks quite nasty. Queen e3, building some pressure. Queen f6. Now Kasparov's not tempted for knight d6, instead he just plays e5, and he's blocked in his bishop a little bit actually. Now knight d6, and now switching to the king side, rook g4, so the pressure's starting to be put on the black king. Bishop f4 threatening, bishop takes h6. King moves out of the way, rook d1, so there does seem to be a lot of pressure building up on black here. In fact, at move 31, let's get an engine evaluation. It's slightly better by about a pawn. No, coming down the pawn. Okay, slight engine evaluation in white's favour, clearly. F5. That looks a bit risky. Kasparov takes and now plays Rook H4. Okay, I think G5 is out of the question. Just Bishop E4. It looks to be too materialistic. Just Bishop takes G5. Pardon me. There's a pin on the Queen. So Knight D5, Queen E5. Now Nigel takes off the dark square bishop and he moves his king to G8. So he's got some bad structure here. White's got a better pawn chain, less islands, 2 islands to black's 3. E6 in particular looks like a weak island. Knight E4. Okay, putting pressure on C5. Nigel took on D4 and played Queen F5. Okay, inviting the exchange of queens, and now actually we've got a rook and pawn ending with some drawing chances, it would appear, for black, especially after this next move. Very clever move here, Rook A5. So defending C5, but gonna play Rook B5 and put pressure on that B2 pawn. So that happens after winning B2. Now we've got an outside pass pawn here, but it's probably very difficult to exploit, especially given black's C pawn is just gonna, the exchange of prisoners occurred there. Nimzo-Indian exchange of prisoners, one weakness for the other. Now this position is looking to be potentially a draw. Black can hold this rook and pawn ending potentially. So here we reach a critical phase where black plays now G6 check, offering white to win another pawn, but it's really just one pawn, double pawns, and it's probably very difficult now, in fact impossible for white to make progress. So here they agree to draw. One pawn will drop off of check, so there's like perpetual checks now galore. So nice save really for Nigel, who is under a lot of pressure there. If we do an overview and summary, in fact I think I will upload one game at a time to keep your comments or questions compartmentalized for each game of relevance. So it seems black was in a difficult position here. Nigel was in a difficult position, faced with this kind of London system, horrible bishop on this diagonal, horrible queen, you know, just perched onto the light squares, looking in to black's position. But black somehow, after knight takes d4, the weakness of that move, instead of ed4, was giving up c5 control. A pawn on d4 means knight c5 is not possible. But a pawn here is isolated. It'll be an isolated pawn, which would give black a ready-made plan to consider blockading and then destroying, restrain, blockade, destroy, or just torturing that pawn later. But here it looks like a clear blockade opportunity. So Kasparov, you know, in wanting to evade the isolated queen pawn scenario, gave black this resource knight c5, and this started to be the point where black started to get back into the game. So this plan now of f3 e4 is very interesting, because it's really creating that outpost square with e5 later, once this pawn goes to e5. So even though that outpost square is created and the rook's given greater flexibility and opportunity now with this advanced pawn wedge, it seems Nigel was able to hold here. Although I do wonder, if we did put this under engine inspection right here, I wonder if there's any breakthroughs which white missed. Just checking with the engine. Even though it's slightly better for white, did he miss anything? After f5, I thought that was dodgy, and I thought there would be an evaluation shift in white's favour. So white took, which apparently is not as good as rook h4. Well, no, now it's become as strong. Pardon me, Kasparov is right. The best move at that level. So queen e5, good invasive move. Now white was almost like a pawn up here. Actually, should he have taken with the queen? Much the same as taking with the rook. But this structural weakness, the free pawn island scenario, is interesting, particularly this weakness. But is this stuff exploitable? Rook fd4, now rook d7. So knight e4 was played here. I'm not sure if the simplification, if there was better. Knight c4, does that offer more torture opportunity? Rook takes d4. and say there was an exchange of queens. In this position, this might be slightly improved for white of taking on b6. This sort of continuation, slight improvement over the game, maybe not much in it. Blitz chess terms, maybe from a theoretical point of view. But so in the game we had simplification, and Nigel was able to hold this rook and pawn ending now. So masterfully giving up pawn, nice pawn sack at the end to stop further inroads. He had to stop g6 check. So this is quite clever, actually, a clever little trick if you're playing black and you don't want white to sort of win this position with 3 against 2. Remember, rook and pawn endings are the most frequent type of endings, so this is a very important trick here, guys, to learn from this game. I'll flip the board. So what you do, you take and then you just sack the pawn, because the opponent's only really just in effect got 1 pawn here. And anyway, so, and now cannot escape the checks. So this is an easy draw, much easier than if you faced a pawn on g6, you would have, had it. If you played on the move here, I think g6 is going to be winning for white. Mind you, the engine's not even playing g6. Maybe g6 isn't winning. Okay, hang on. It's advantage to white, but was there stronger? No, it's giving g6 now. Okay. Is there actually a winning there? Engine can pick really great at endings. You usually have to put this into. This might actually still be a theoretical draw. You never know. Okay, endgame experts out there on YouTube, please let me know. Is this a draw? It looks, the engine can't make progress anyway at depth 25, it seems. So maybe this is drawable, but it's a lot more clear cut in practical terms in a blitz game. What Nigel played here, just to play g6, it would seem. So that was pretty good stuff. G6. Okay, so I think actually I will go to 1 game per video. So I'm just going to upload this. We can chat about it. Comments or questions on YouTube. Thanks very much.